This is an ADA assessment of the Brickerville House Courtyard in Lidditz, PA. The Brickerville House Courtyard consists of 11 different specialty shops, and there are 4 entrances that lead into the opening of the shops, as well as 4 ramps within the shops. This is a layout of the Brickerville House Courtyard with entries, ramps, and the toilet room. For assessment of entrances, we looked at parking, exterior access, curb ramps, and handrails.
What's the slope of the parking spot?
1 in 48.
For parking spaces, the courtyard was compliant in the ratio of accessible parking spots at entrances 1, 2, and 3. All accessible parking spaces were between 6 feet and 9 feet. There was only 1 van parking at entry 1. Space 1 was 14 feet and space 2 was 9 feet 10 inches. The 4th entry to the courtyard was not ADA accessible and did not have any ADA parking. There were no standing signs to signify the accessible parking spots. We suggest signs be added. For exterior access routes, for entries 1, 2, and 3, all were stable, firm, and slip resistant with a width greater than 36 inches. There were no grates or openings. Greta and Danielle are now getting out of their car and entering the main entrance. The running slope of entry 1 was compliant. It was 1 to 20 as is required. The cross slope for entry 1 was not compliant. It was 1 to 19. We suggest a regrade of the slope and build a retaining wall to prevent shifting ground. The running slope of entry 2 was 1 to 12. The running slope of entry 2 was compliant, as was the cross slope of entry 2. The running slope of entry 3 was not compliant. It was 1 in 6. The running slope was non-compliant, but the cross slope was compliant for entry 3. Our suggestion for entry 3 is to regrade the slope. Entry 4 was not accessible. It had a large threshold of 4.5 inches. For landings, the length and width were compliant.
Greta is now demonstrating the spacious landing on top of the main entrance ramp.
For railings, entry 1 had an 18-inch rise. A railing was needed, but there was none. Entry 2 and 3 had a 4.5-inch rise. No railing was needed, but one was present. The railing for entry 2 was non-compliant in the height and the length beyond where the ramp ends. The railing for entry 3 was compliant in all 3 categories.
We assessed 4 different ramps within the courtyard. The width of each was compliant because they were all greater than 36 inches. Ramp A was compliant with its running slope as 1 to 20, and the cross slope was compliant with 1 to 48. Ramp B was compliant with the same requirements. Ramp C was also compliant with the running slope and the cross slope. Finally, the 4th ramp, Ramp D, was compliant in the running and the cross slopes.
For bathrooms, we assessed the sign, doors, privacy wall, amenities, and water closet. The sign was compliant in that the text contrasted with the background and the sign was mounted on the door. The sign was not compliant in that the characters were not raised, so there was no braille. Our suggestion is to add a new sign with braille. Clearance between the doorway and the wall, clearance before the doorway, and the door handle are all at appropriate lengths and are compliant. As you can see, entry into the doorway is very difficult. The door was non-compliant in that its opening width was only 26 inches and threshold was anywhere between 3 to 5 inches. The distance between the doorway and the privacy wall were compliant. Space between the privacy wall and the other wall is not enough space to get to the water closet. The privacy wall was 20 inches in diameter between the door and the wall, which was not compliant. There was not enough space in the bathroom to turn around and exit the bathroom. The sink, pipes, and soap dispenser were all compliant. And the mirror, coat hook, and hand towels were all too high.
Can you reach the soap dispenser?
Yes.
Can you see yourself in the mirror?
No.
Okay. How about can you reach the hand towels?
Yes.
Well, if nobody. Okay. Yes.
To fix these issues, we recommend lowering the mirror and paper towel dispenser and shortening the privacy wall. The water closet was compliant in its distance from the side wall, its height, and the grab bar handrail's distance from the end wall, and its distance from the ground to the wall. The grab bar handrail was only 25 inches long, so it was not compliant. The water closet was non-compliant in that it was only 36 by 51 inches. And this completes our assessment of the Brickerville House courtyard.